Okay, so I see Akrish and Alex. Um, cool. So is Rockbridge here on the proposition? All members who are speaking? Yep. Awesome. Okay. And then Orion on the opposition.
Yeah, I think me and Jake are gonna irons person. So
Okay.
I'll be on the 1-3,
Sounds
Jake
good.
will be 2-4.
Go ahead and do a favor and put that in the chat for both sides, and we'll just make sure that we have that clear on our ballots. So for Alex and Akrish, that should be available on Tab Room. Just go ahead and click Start Round. And yeah, for those watching, the motion is this house as the Easter Bunny would reveal that they are real. So yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to a great round. I mean, I'll just
Murray,
go ahead
can
and
you put the
introduce.
motion in chat?
Yeah, I'll put the motion in the chat. But I guess we could do like a little bit of like judge or adjudicator introduction. So I'm the chief adjudicator for the tournament. My name's Arik. I mean, in terms of things that I look for, it's just pretty simple. It's like the same things like content, strategy, style, all of that good stuff. And yeah, good luck to everyone. Alex.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Alex. Looking forward to a great round. Just have fun and yeah.
Hey everyone, my name's Akrish. Yeah, it's just like Eric and Alex said, have a great round, give good speeches. I'm sure it'll be a fun round. Thank you.
All right, are we ready to get started then? All right, perfect. Well, first off, I'm Andrew O'Mitty. I'm going to be giving the 1 and the 4. My pronouns are that guy, and am I visible and audible? Okay, I appear so. All right, I'll be taking verbal point of information. And if everybody is ready, then I am going to be starting now. Mama Robidi told me just this morning that the Easter Bunny dropped off some gifts. Colored eggs, a chocolate bunny, and a 3-0 ballot for this finals round. The Easter Bunny's magic brings a smile to countless people across the globe. And if we want that for billions more, then we must propose the motion that this house, as the Easter Bunny, would reveal himself. We're going to be starting with framing, then our model, then our observation before going into our 2 substantive speeches. And then my extremely attractive and wonderful partner, Anish, will be giving the 3rd in his 2nd speech. Let's start with framing. Whichever side benefits the Easter Bunny and his goals the best should win in today's debate. As the Easter Bunny's main goal is to spread happiness and gifts to children across the world, that is what must be prioritized in this round. Now onto our model, where we have 2 key points with this. First, the Easter Bunny is going to reveal himself, his identity, and his powers to the world in a convincing way. Second, by revealing himself, he does not lose his magical abilities. Now let's go on to our observation. In a Jack Frost and Legends film, we can see that by gaining the belief of children across the world, the Easter Bunny as a magical being gains more power and control over his magical abilities. Even with things such as ideas and dreams, we can see that the only time something gains prevalence is when a large amount of people believe in its abilities. Just as the Easter Bunny brought me happiness this morning, we're going to want to see that for everyone across the world, which brings us to our first substantive, happiness for all. Many children are excited on Easter morning to go outside and hunt for eggs that the Easter Bunny gave them. If the Easter Bunny reveals that he is real, then that means children are able to latch on and become inspired by an imaginary and now real figure. Look towards the groundhog on Groundhog Day, where just their presence ignites happiness, joy, and a symbol of what spring is and the end of winter. By the Easter Bunny revealing that he is real, then he can be a symbol of happiness in spring and help to serve as a tool for people to look up to. We show how when more people believe in the Easter Bunny, then his happiness power grows, and that helps make people on net happier. Additionally, as per our definition, the Easter Bunny can gift happiness to the entire world. However, the uniqueness is that the Easter Bunny needs more power by people believing that he is. People are believing in the Easter Bunny less and less. And after things like the scientific revolution, People are stopping to believe. And we are also seeing record low numbers of happiness. The Easter Bunny power is decreasing and people are sad. We need to increase that power, and that is only by belief. We, as the Easter Bunny, just want to help people and make them happy. Revealing ourselves can make more people happy and help to induce more of this magic. Marie Antoinette once said, "Let them eat cake." Well, guess what? Now they can. Which brings us to the second substantive, solving world hunger. We all know that the Easter Bunny as a being is a universal bringer of chocolate, candy, eggs,
Point of information.
fruits, and many other foods. But let's hear this point of information before I continue.
Why can't the Easter Bunny give food to the world without revealing his own identity?
Okay, so it's really cool that you have those headphones on, but make sure you actually plug them in because we show you in the first observation that when more people believe in the Easter Bunny, his power grows, okay? So when more people believe in the Easter Bunny, his power is going to grow, okay? It just makes sense. It just makes sense. So when more people believe in them, he's gonna have the power to actually give it to more people. And as over 2 billion people on the earth continue to live with hunger, not getting food necessary to survive, but in revealing himself, the world gains its access to a source of infinite food that we already know to appear globally. In fact, in that vein, under our definition, in bringing gifts, that includes gifts like water to people globally that don't have access to it. Moreover, for regions that are hard to reach, like deserts, people who live in the deep wilderness, people who works on ships, mountain ranges, your mom's house, or more, what we can see is those people who are initially unreachable or hard to reach are now connected to a dispersing source of any gifts that fills any of their needs. In that vein, the Easter Bunny is not possible to stop, completely sustainable for all of eternity, and beyond that, you don't have to fill him up with gasoline like we have to when transporting trucks. We can see that the Easter Bunny has been giving people gifts across the globe for time and time again now. We can see that the Easter Bunny can be anywhere at one time. That means on net, we solve climate change. We solve climate change. We solve every single issue that any society presents at all. Ultimately, what we have to realize is if we want to take these gasoline trucks off the road that are transporting things, then, well, we can have the Easter Bunny either gift what's already going there, or we can have the Easter Bunny gift a completely environmentally friendly truck that can transport goods. We can have the Easter Bunny gift us the solution for world hunger, because a gift is just defined as a thing that you give to someone, and a thing can be anything. So ultimately, what we have to realize is that the Easter Bunny is the key solution to solving world hunger. And I want a single point of information for why I'm wrong.
Okay, so even if it's true that some people don't accept the Easter Bunny is real, what stops them from still giving them food?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you want to rephrase that? Another point of information?
Yeah, so even if someone doesn't believe the Easter Bunny is real, what's stopping the Easter Bunny from still giving them food?
Okay. So I don't know how many times I can say this. Our observation literally shows how whenever the Easter Bunny has more people believe that he is real, his powers get increased. And what we initially show in our substantive one is that happiness is decreasing in a correlation with people not believing in the Easter Bunny. So what we have to realize is that less and less people are believing in the Easter Bunny. So that means he doesn't have the magical powers and abilities to actually be able to solve world hunger. We show in our observation that the key way that the Easter Bunny can actually solve world hunger is by him having the mechanism of people believing that he is real. So what we have to show is that whenever we have this observation fulfilled of enough people believing that he is real to solve world hunger, can we actually see the problem of world hunger being solved in the first place? And again, I think your headphones weren't plugged in or something, because that was the first response to your point as well. So I'm just a friendly reminder. So overall, what we can see is that if we want to give more happiness to people of the world, and if we want to actually solve world hunger once and for all, then we need more people to believe that the Easter Bunny is real. And by adopting our model and proposing this motion, we can see that the Easter Bunny is going to have people believe he is real across the world in record high numbers. And under our observation, that shows he'll have more magical power than ever, which means he on net solves every single issue ever created ever, such as giving us this 3-0 ballot. Thank you so much. I propose.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for that fine speech. I now call upon the Leader of Opposition to deliver a speech not to exceed 8 minutes. Here.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me all right? Like, is there a loud fan in the background? Okay, cool. Yeah, my name is Ethan Wilkes. I'll be giving the hello, and I will also be giving the opposition whip later on. Pronouns are he, him. I'll take your POIs verbally. Okay, cool. Honestly, I think the proposition missed something pretty big. The Easter Bunny probably already exists. His name is Sung-Ju Yoon. I mean, I think he's great for the job. Who wouldn't want to sit in that guy's lap? Unfortunately, though, not even Sung-Ju can say the proposition in this debate. Very proud to oppose. A few things I'll be given in this speech. First, the framing. Second, I'll interact with the substantive material of side proposition. And finally, I'll deliver our 2 substantive arguments. So first, in some framing, 2 big things I want to point out here. First, for the purpose of this debate, we assume that the Easter Bunny is Sung-Ju Yoon. The word they in the motion assumes that the Easter Bunny is a human person, given that we traditionally refer to gender-neutral animals as it, unless we know them personally, i.e. they are your pet, you know their gender, things like that. This goes along with Sung-Ju as he uses any pronouns. We have the evidence from the 2021 TOC Congress final round. Also, if Prop wants to contest this definition, they have to prove concrete facts as to what the Easter Bunny actually is, given that most of the information about him is based on speculation. The only concrete evidence we have about the identity of the Easter Bunny is on @Sungju on Instagram. The movie they cite to prove that the Easter Bunny has magical powers is entirely fictional. Even if you buy this, though, all of our harms materialize whether or not you think Sung-Ju is the Easter Bunny. But second, the proposition characterizes the Easter Bunny as having the sole goal of spreading happiness. We think he does want to spread happiness to some extent, but he also wants to do things like protect his own privacy. He still has his own priorities in his personal life. Happiness is not the end-all be-all to this round. Next, let's talk about their case a little bit. On their first one about inspiration and happiness, a few responses here. 1, children can do things like hunt for eggs without knowing the Easter Bunny is real. They do not prove why uniquely the Easter Bunny has to be real or out himself as real in order to get the benefits of inspiration and happiness. Second, children believe the Easter Bunny is real because their parents tell them, no thank you. This does not justify the Easter Bunny outing himself as real. Insofar as young children think he is real, they do not prove the uniqueness as to why he needs to be recognized as real. But third and finally, their warrant for happiness in the Easter Bunny getting more power is just bad and lazy. They base it on the Frosty the Snowman and like random shit like that. But the Easter Bunny is very far different than like Frosty the Snowman or any other fictional character. They just assert that they're the same. There is no logical warrant in the entire PM as to why they get more power and how this power functions from the Easter Bunny. I'm not buying it. This is where they're going to lose a lot of office in this round. But on to their second subject about world hunger. 1, they don't explain why the Easter Bunny has to out himself to solve the issues of world hunger. They think they're super clever when they tell Jake that, oh my God, he gets more power whenever he can out himself as real. But the question is, why? Just because you have fictional other characters that out themselves get more power, no thank you, does not mean the Easter Bunny would get more power. This is just asserted. There's not a single warrant in the entire PM that explains this. But second, if the Easter Bunny had the power to stop world hunger, he would have already done so. They don't prove why even if he does get more power, that power correlates to a better ability to provide more food to more people. It doesn't make sense. But third, on their impact of climate change, not everyone wants chocolate, so people will still buy from stores that transport food. Plus, transportation is not all or even the majority of climate emissions. Don't buy this impact. I'll take your point now.
Okay, so on our point about how our warrant just comes from a movie, how do we know that any of us are actually real and actually exist? We could all be in a simulation and movie right now. You never actually warrant that out. It makes no sense.
Like, just because we live in, like, even if we did live in a simulation, like, that doesn't change the debate at all. Like, okay. Go to our first stuff about quality of life. Now, this argument is pretty simple, right? By turning yourself from a fictional character into a real person, you are experiencing all of the drawbacks of being a celebrity without any of the benefits. You get all of the media scrutiny into every little detail of your life. Stalkers are constantly going to be putting you and your loved ones at risk of injury or even death. 3 layers under this argument, though. The first is on the paparazzi. Essentially, when you're a celebrity, you get absolutely no privacy and you're always under private scrutiny. From what you wear to where you eat, people who you're with, and people just trying to get photos of you every day. When you're just trying to live your life normally, right? The Easter Bunny can no longer just live a normal life, free of cameras pointed towards him wherever he goes. The second layer is on stalkers, right? When you're a celebrity, no thank you, certain people become obsessive over you and everything you do. That's when you're constantly endangered by stalkers that pose a threat to them and their families. For example, John Lennon was literally killed by a previous fan turned stalker. This is especially risky given the part that the Easter Bunny's job is to go from house to house with basically zero protection, zero security with him. Nothing is stopping a crazy person from just shooting the Easter Bunny so they can get clout and be famous for shooting the Easter Bunny, right? Third layer is on the lack of benefits of becoming real. This layer goes to prove that while the Easter Bunny gets all the negative effects of being a celebrity, the positive ones other celebrities normally get are far more diminished. Firstly, because more celebrities are incredibly rich and get paid for things like being in movies, etc., depending on where they get their celebrity status. The Easter Bunny does not get access to these benefits. But secondarily, most celebrities get sponsorship deals year-round through things like movies and advertising. The Easter Bunny also doesn't get this. Why does the Easter Bunny care about all this analysis, though? Well, one, most people care about privacy. Most people do not want people intruding on their daily life. It is safe to assume the Easter Bunny wouldn't either. But two, if Sungju dies, a lot of people will be sad, especially Jake Zhang, right? No, thank you. No more points for the rest of the speech. On our second substantive about radicalizing religion. The thesis of this, actually, I'll take your point.
Okay, so are you really saying that Sungju Yoon, probably the baddest person in all of speech and debate, is not going to be able to gain popularity, sponsorships, or fame? That makes no sense.
I don't think he would have an incentive to because he's too busy preparing for Easter, right? He's got to get his little whoever the hell makes the chocolate and stuff. I don't think he has time. Also, he could already get brand deals because he's like that, right? Okay. On our second sub, this is about radicalizing religion, right? The thesis of this argument is very simple. Revealing yourself as the Easter Bunny and being real makes you millions of enemies across the world, particularly religious ones. This is because of the radicalization of religion and religious hostility towards you. 2 layers in this argument, right? The first is on offending the religious community. The Easter Bunny goes against direct and firm interpretations of the Bible that have been long accepted by Christians. It does not tie into the holiday in any way, similar to how the consumerism of candy canes, gingerbread houses, etc., are very annoying to Christians during Christmas. By revealing himself, the Easter Bunny will make himself Christians' public enemy number 1, right? But second is on religious belief. We think that highly susceptible children in the religious world will soon start doubting the religion under the lines of the logic if the Easter Bunny has revealed himself, why hasn't Jesus? This will cause parents to become severely restrictive of these children, not exposing them to the outside world nearly as much, and it will essentially cause parents to get really, really frustrated. What are the impacts of this? Well, it's pretty simple, right? The Easter Bunny would not want this to happen because he would become the number 1 enemy of religious institutions. They would not like the Easter Bunny because it would crowd out all of their religious power and things of that nature. So the religious institutions will do things that are against the Easter Bunny's priorities and things of that nature, which will ultimately be bad. Thus, you can vote for the opposition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leader of the Opposition, for that fine speech. I now call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to deliver a speech not to exceed 8 minutes. Hear.
Can everybody hear me? All right. Can I have a water bottle, please? Sorry, my water bottle's lost. All right, you know what? It's fine. We'll just raw dog this speech. Okay, if everybody is ready, I'll start now. Let's first start off on framing and our case and then go on to their case. Specifically on our case and our framing, they tell you a couple things. First, they say on framing, that the Easter Bunny is Sungju Yoon, and we have to assume that it is Sungju Yoon. But here's the problem here. You can't use evidence from Sungju Yoon's Instagram. It's an impromptu round. And then 2, this isn't implicated whatsoever for the rest of the case. Just because you say Sungju once in the second substantive doesn't actually mean you make this argument in a part of your entire case. It fundamentally gets dropped because it breaks the rules of impromptu. And then 2, on their argument about the Easter Bunny wants to spread happiness and joy, but also has their own priorities, we agree. But the priorities largely link to being like helpful for everybody. That's the first priority. That's why the Easter Bunny's first priority is giving gifts and spreading joy. We don't hear a lot of stories about the Easter Bunny saying, hey, I'm going to go like chill out at the pool today and, you know, have fun. The first priority is about helping others. So that's where the impacts actually lie. So with that, both their framing mechanisms kind of make sense, but I will not be taking that point. But with that, let's go into framing. They don't really give you many responses onto our framing, but they give you a few. The first is that like children can believe because of parents onto our first framework. Here's the problem with that argument. One, this ignores orphans. And then two, we would say that if this is dependent on parents, we would say in a world where the Easter Bunny is real and is proven as real, parents would actually be more likely to believe in the Easter Bunny, right? And tell their children about it. So the power of the Easter Bunny actually gets more so and better because more countries are, more people are willing to support it.
Point of information.
I will not be taking that point. And then thirdly, they tell you that we give you a lot of bad warranting and it's like not based on one Frosty the Snowman film. That's not our argument. And the actual logic is a lot better. What we tell you is this. When ideas are supported by a lot more people, they become real. Think about any kind of ideology or any kind of like subject that we know about. When it's supported and thought about by more and more people, it becomes more real and it's a bigger fixation of society. We would say the Easter Bunny is a lot more shared by a smaller section of the world. Now that it's real and proven as real, what happens is more and more people believe in it. That's why we've seen movies such as Jack Frost say that when these like figures are believed in,
Point of information.
more popular, and that's why all of our links still exist. But before I continue, I'll take that point.
If it is true that we can't use outside evidence in an impromptu round, your whole case literally falls apart because all of your warranting comes from that one movie.
No, it's not necessarily. It's like logic. You're citing the actual Instagram account itself. We're talking about our memories and our understanding of the movies in of itself. But even then, the logical warranting is still there. You can take away the Jack Frost thing. We'd still tell you that when you believe in a subject on a larger scale, it's a lot more believed in. You haven't responded to that either. But with that, let's go into our case. They say a few things that first off, on our substantive 2, they don't really touch our sub 1. Why does like beliefs lead to more power? We already explained that in the first constructive. We explained that here, but like we said before, it's simple. When you believe in a subject that is a lot large spread and a wider scale, more people are going to believe in it. That gives more power, that gives more legitimacy to the power of the Easter Bunny. And then they also tell you that if the Easter Bunny had the power, he would save all these issues. But what we tell you is that the Easter Bunny isn't believed on a large enough scale right now. That's why they're not able to solve for all these issues. When you prove to everybody that you are real, what happens is you get a much bigger likelihood of everyone believing, a much stronger ability in the Easter Bunny, and a lot better ability to solve for these impacts. Then they also say that bus and transportation isn't the key like impact to all of climate change. What we would tell you is, for example, like the airplane industry is very like dense when it comes to emissions first. And then two, even if it doesn't solve for all of climate change, we're still on balance better. And that's basically all they say on our case. So with that, let's go into their case. This case doesn't really make much sense on the substantive 1 level because on the whole, their whole argument is that paparazzi and celebrities. But what they seem to misunderstand is that the Easter Bunny is not like Ryan Gosling or any celebrity. The Easter Bunny is magical. So with the ability of magic comes the ability to circumvent any kind of these issues. Think about this logically. Sure, if a celebrity is walking outside, what happens? They'll get paparazzi on them and they'll get stalked. But guess what? They don't have the magical ability to transport away like the Easter Bunny does. The Easter Bunny is inherently magical and can avoid all these issues, right? That's why you don't get the same kind of impacts. They don't tell you why you can compare the paparazzi and normal people with the Easter Bunny. It is a fundamentally different subject. Then the same applies to stalking. If you're getting stalked, then the Easter Bunny can magically leave, right? It's not that hard. They don't prove why the Easter Bunny is restrained to the ideas and the rules of regular society that people such as, I don't know, Ryan Gosling again. I don't know why Ryan Gosling's on my mind, but you know, we've all. Anyways, on the third point, the same thing is that there's a lack of benefits for the Easter Bunny. But like we said, the framing of this round dictates this. Even if, can you charge my laptop, Drew? It's going to die.
Yeah, one sec.
So Okay, we would say that magic solves for everything at the end of the day too. And here's the biggest issue. Can you stop touching my laptop so much, please?
You asked me to charge you.
So anyways, sorry. Like my laptop's about to die. But we would say on this argument specifically, on the framing, we tell you that the first priority of the Easter Bunny is to help everybody. Even if the Easter Bunny wants to go chill at home, we would still say as long as it helps everybody, then we'd still win this argument. And then two, the Sungju argument part doesn't really make much sense either, because Sungju is like a great soul. Sungju wants to help others, right? We agree. My friend Kevin, who's watching this round right now, loves Sungju Yoon, and he's created so much positive impacts at the Rockbridge community. And we would say with this, even if Sungju's the Easter Bunny, we would still get the benefits because Sungju wants to help everybody. I love you, Sungju. And anyways, with that comes our substantive 3. Magic solves all. This substantive is the final nail in the coffin, or should I say, egg in the basket. Right now, the Easter Bunny is assumed as imaginary. But when the Easter Bunny is revealed, more people will believe it and can remove itself from being an independent identity. For example, just look at Batman. Before he revealed himself, he was a vigilante and had to work on his own and clash with existing authorities. But when he worked with the government, Batman was able to better solve injustice in the community. In the same way, when the Easter Bunny reveals himself, he'll be able to collude with the government and better help the ones that need it best. Since the government carries out consensus and demographic checks to tabulate the most impoverished areas and prioritize alleviating the hunger and depression in those areas, the Easter Bunny and its magical properties can help. It can transport anywhere. Literally, there is no material cap on what the Easter Bunny can do. There's no reason to believe that there's any limit on what the Easter Bunny is actually capable of. And pair that with the government that wants to help the people, we would tell you that that's an amazing partnership. And with that, we would say that insofar as all of the magic still solves for everything, there's no reason to go in favor of the opposition. But with that, let's just crystallize this round into just one issue before we make this even worse. Honestly, we would say the idea of the Easter Bunny is that the priority is to help everybody. But right now, the simple fact is that not enough people believe in the Easter Bunny. Think about this logically. How many adults or judges, quite frankly, how many of your friends actually go around on Easter and say, yo, I cannot wait to see what the Easter Bunny gives me today? Actually, oh my God, right? It's not believed on the same extent that we need in order for everybody to believe and give enough power. What we would say is by virtue of the Easter Bunny revealing itself in its identity and according to our model in a convincing way, that means everyone believes. And the same way that everyone believes in the Easter Bunny, that strengthens the power of the Easter Bunny, because we've seen this in movies such as Jack Frost's film. But even if you don't want to take that, any kind of ideology that is supported on the mass scale at the end of the day still does better. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for that fine speech. I now call upon the Deputy Leader of the Opposition to deliver a speech not to exceed 8 minutes. Here. Also, make sure your headphones are plugged in. Thanks.
Okay, Eric. Can everybody hear me and see me? Perfect. All right. And I apologize if any of my jokes missed. That's just a result of too much debating. Okay. I'll get started in 3, 2, 1. Proposition's entire case is so based off of speculation and hypotheticals, based off of fiction and magical powers that somehow magically only favor their side of the house. But we give you reasons that are grounded in not magic but reality, showing how the Easter Bunny revealing himself would only lead to worse outcomes for his life without any impact on the world at large. Proposition is so far behind that not even magic or a glitch in the matrix can save them in this debate. I'm going to do 2 things in this speech. Firstly, I'm going to address Proposition's offense before rebuilding our own side in order to solidify your opposition ballot. Firstly, though, really quickly on framing here about this issue of evidence in impromptu round. The fact that Sungju is the Easter Bunny is pretty much common knowledge among the debate community. Plus, they literally took evidence from a movie, and their entire warranting is hinged on that one movie in that one line of reasoning about how the Easter Bunny gains more power when he gets more recognition. So if it is true that we should be disregarding all outside knowledge, their entire case and their entire reasoning just falls apart here. We would say that Sungju being the Easter Bunny is more common knowledge, whereas I've never even heard of that movie that they're talking about. With that said, then, what did Proposition give you? They gave you 3 substantive points here. Firstly, they gave you this point about making children happier. I have 3 responses to this. Firstly, why do people in the status quo believe in the Easter Bunny in the first place? It's not because he's revealed himself to the public, which he obviously hasn't. It's because their parents tell them that the Easter Bunny is real. That's the same reason why kids believe in Santa, even though Santa is basically just an urban legend. He might be real, he might be not, but I'm pretty sure he's not real. That's why kids believe in him, not because the Easter Bunny has like revealed himself. We would say, even if the Easter Bunny doesn't publicly reveal himself, we still have basically the same amount of support. But secondly, though, I think you generally turn this argument because in their side, you create backlash from religious institutions that will only make more children doubt the Easter Bunny. We gave you reasoning in our second substantive argument that if the Easter Bunny reveals himself as real, all of these religious parents who are relying on strict interpretations of the Bible will keep their children secluded, will keep them isolated from the rest of the world, and will keep them insulated from any further influences. At that point, then, they'll never even see the Easter Bunny. They'll never know who the Easter Bunny is. We would say at that point, when you create more religious backlash against the Easter Bunny, you basically make these religious institutions wage war against incorrect interpretations of their scripture. You actually create less trust and legitimacy in the Easter Bunny himself. But thirdly and finally, I know for a fact that Santa isn't real, or at least I'm pretty sure, but I can still have fun with all the festivities of Christmas. Just simply believing in the Easter Bunny or not believing in the Easter Bunny doesn't stop you from partaking in things like Easter egg hunts, doesn't stop you from partaking in things like eating chocolate. All of these things are basically the same on either side of the house. You don't necessarily have to have a belief to have those impacts materialize. But secondly, they give you a point about world hunger and climate change, right? Again, 3 responses to this. Firstly, their entire warranting for this point is based off of a fictional film. They haven't proven to you any structural reasons as to why the Easter Bunny gains power. They give you this analysis like to an ideology. Dog, you're talking about magic. There's no analogies to be had. Totally different things here. Your reasoning is just not there whatsoever. Secondly, though, if it is true that the Easter Bunny has infinite food, he doesn't just have to give that food out to people who believe in him. We already taken the warranting out about gaining power. What does this necessarily mean then? This means that if the Easter Bunny has infinite chocolate, just spread that chocolate around the world. People don't necessarily have to believe in you for you to send shipments of chocolate to every single country in the world. If it is true that the Easter Bunny is truly magical and has this power. Third and finally, though, they don't do anything to climate change whatsoever because not everybody eats chocolate, which is what the Easter Bunny brings around. People still need balanced diets to survive. We're still going to have all of these transports of other food around the world. With that said, I can take that point.
So just to clarify, our argument isn't just about chocolate. The definition of the Easter Bunny is that it gives gifts, and gifts can be anything. This can include chocolate. In fact, it actually expands to more.
Okay.
Like before
I literally think this is kind of abusive because it's pretty much accepted that the Easter Bunny just gives out chocolate and candy. You can't just say that it gives out everything. Like, you can literally say that you can get infinite money on your side of the house, which is just kind of unfair. But even if it's true that the Easter Bunny has all of this infinite power, I don't think he needs to be real in order for like all of these impacts to be achieved, right? Because if you can give out infinite money and if you can work with governments to pass policy, just send that money to them without revealing that you're real, being in the public sphere and being vulnerable to all of these impacts, including doing things like being killed. Thirdly and finally, though, they talked about magic solving all. Firstly, I'm not even sure he's magical in the first place, and they don't really give you any clear warning as to what the extent of his magic power is. I think generally their interpretation kind of changed throughout speeches because all of a sudden now you can basically do anything, whereas before you just like gave out chocolate and gave out food and stuff, which is why I think generally this point about magic solving all kind of blends in with their second point about world hunger. Third and finally, though, I don't know how the Easter Bunny even has to be public in order to use his magic. Again, if he had the power to make infinite food, just make that food and then spread it around the world without revealing your identity and endangering yourself. We think at that point, it is incredibly impactful that the Easter Bunny just like literally stays alive and is not endangered by paparazzi. If it is true that he has all of these infinite magical powers, I won't be taking that point at this time. With that said, then, I'm going to get into rebuilding our own case. Our first substantive was about how the Easter Bunny has worse quality of life. This is incredibly important because this is an actor motion. I don't think anybody, even a mythical creature, even if we're assuming that the Easter Bunny is like some anthropomorphic abomination, I don't think anybody only cares about being kind to people and not their own self-interest. Because sure, the Easter Bunny won't put his own life at risk, yet put at risk of being in active danger just to give people all this food, right? We would say that their entire response for sub one is literally that the Easter Bunny is just magical so he can do whatever he wants. Again, this changes the interpretation of the Easter Bunny that you gave us, which is that he's meant to give gifts, so the gifts can be anything. This doesn't mean that he has any other magical powers, such as things to escape violent situations if he's confronted by someone like a stalker, or speak totally omniscient and point out hidden cameras from paparazzi, or know if there's a stalker at his door. Again, totally changing interpretations of what the Easter Bunny necessarily does. We think this is an unfair burden for them to force us to uphold in this debate. Secondly, though, we told you about this point about radicalizing religion. I honestly didn't even hear any response to this point. I'm not sure. Might have been like laughing too hard or something, or I might have been too distracted by all those missed jokes, but I didn't hear any of these responses to this point whatsoever. The point here was very simple, that when the Easter Bunny radicalizes religion, he only gets more backlash towards his own existence and towards his own popularity. Before I explain further, though, I can take that point.
So can you give any examples of these like really strict religious parents, like, and like what scale these kind of retaliations would be?
Okay, yeah, it's like so simple, right? Religions don't believe in the Easter Bunny. It's a non-religious thing meant to co-opt a religious holiday. It's the same thing as why they don't like gingerbread houses and candy cane during Christmas. Basically, they're just co-opting non-religious people are just co-opting religious holidays. They generally don't tend to like that, and they tend to be following these religious holidays based off of interpretations of the Bible. For example, Christmas is supposed to represent Jesus's birth, and Easter is supposed to represent his resurrection. At the point in which you introduce something like the Easter Bunny and prove that it is real, you have more children actually doubting the existence of people like Jesus under the logic that's like, hey, if the Easter Bunny's revealed himself, why hasn't Jesus? We'd say at that point, you make more religious parents be more restrictive to their children. If it is true that the Easter Bunny cares about the well-being of children, we would say that this point totally takes out their offense here. What have I proved to you in this speech? Firstly, I proved to you that all of their offense is generally going to be non-unique, because even if they can prove that the Easter Bunny has absolute infinite power and is safe from absolutely everything, I don't see what gives him the need to go public in the first place. He can still give out all this food without being in the public sphere. He can, even if he has like infinite power to make anything, he can still do that without necessarily going public in the first place. Secondly, I proved to you though that going public actively endangers him, not any amount of magical power that they literally said he only has the power to give gifts. That doesn't give him the power to avoid confrontations that could possibly be deadly to him. That doesn't give him the power to be like immortal and not be able to die. We would say at that point, the safety of the Easter Bunny is the first and foremost priority. That's the point at which we oppose.
Awesome. Thank you, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, for that fine speech. Now call upon Government Whip to deliver a speech not to exceed 8 minutes. Hear, hear.
Okay, hello. Sorry. I am the third speaker for Rockbridge. My name is Lily Dorn, and I will be taking verbal POIs. And am I visible to everybody? Okay, great. Then I will begin. To start off, I would like to take this all down to 3 key issues in today's debate. And that is the power of belief, the Easter Bunny's priorities, and the religion argument. Starting off with the power of belief, our opponents try to say that the example of the movie that we give is the only way in which we are proving that by having more children believe in the Easter Bunny, that he will have more power. But this is not true. We can see that when it comes to any type of idea in general in our world, if more people believe in that idea, then it has more power, it has more popularity. And so we can take this into consideration when saying that if more children believe in the Easter Bunny, as well as any other Santa Claus or anything else, this Easter Bunny would then gain more power. And because of this more power, he would have more of an ability to make change and benefits to the world. Our opponents then say that there are not enough people believing in the Easter Bunny right now. And that is correct. So there are not enough people believing in the Easter Bunny right now, and this continues to get worse. Belief in things such as the Easter Bunny and stuff all across the world are decreasing as science is
Point of information.
a proof. And so if the Easter Bunny is being believed in more and continues to be believed in, then he will gain more power. If we don't do anything,
Point of information.
with the opposition side right now, and we do not change anything, then this will continue to decrease, meaning less people will be believing in the Easter Bunny, and there will be no way for him to have any power whatsoever, meaning he won't be able to make any changes, any benefits for anyone across the world. By voting for the opposition team here today, we would make it so that there is no way for the Easter Bunny to have control or power over anything in our current world. Secondly,
point of information.
Down to another point over the Easter Bunny's priorities. Our opponents are trying to say here today that the Easter Bunny's priorities are of himself. But As we can see through stories and movies that have been over the Easter Bunny all across the world, the Easter Bunny's main priorities are to improve the happiness of children across the world. That is why he brings food, he brings candy, he brings different things to people on the day of Easter. That is his main priority, meaning that that is what he's going to be prioritizing. And by being the Easter Bunny
Point of information.
both the opposition and the proposition teams should be prioritizing the happiness of children. And as we have proved in our first substantive, that the proposition team, by revealing himself as the Easter Bunny, he best achieves this, we must vote for the proposition. Then my opponents bring up a lot about celebrities and stalking and how there are celebrities in our current world that are having issues with stalkers, and by revealing himself, the Easter Bunny would then have these issues as well. But I have one question for you. Is the Easter Bunny an average celebrity? Are celebrities magical? No, they are not. Meaning that if the Easter Bunny is able to prove himself as real, he doesn't need to worry about any of these stalkers or some random guy that's going to shoot him. He is a magical bunny.
Point of information.
He's not going to have to worry about these types of things. Nobody knows where he lives. Nobody knows how to catch him. He's magical. He is literally the Easter Bunny. There is nothing that's going to become an issue when it comes to these types of things. And now I will take that POI.
Your literal interpretation of the Easter Bunny is that he can only have the power to gift people things, and a gift can be anything. Now you're saying that he's magical and he can avoid all of these confrontations and safety concerns. Plus, even if he was entirely magical, he would still have people like paparazzi trying to take pictures of him.
What we're saying is that, yes, the Easter Bunny is a magical being. That is what the Easter Bunny is. That is our argument here today. And with that, he won't need to care about things such as paparazzi. Yes, a paparazzi can take a photo of the Easter Bunny, but we don't know that much about the Easter Bunny. For all we know, he won't show up in photos. Maybe he's magical enough so that there's no possible way for him to show up in a photo. There's no extent to the Easter Bunny's powers in this type of thing because there's no proof of the Easter Bunny from this point on. So there's nothing that would harm the Easter Bunny when it comes to paparazzi and if he proves himself real by revealing his identity. Now, we'll bring it back to our third reason of the religion argument here today. Our opponents on this are mainly arguing that Christians and Christianity will hate the Easter Bunny if he reveals himself, because children will see that, oh, the Easter Bunny can prove himself, so why can't Jesus and why can't other things like this? But first of all, by proving himself real, the Easter Bunny would actually give more hope to people in different religious situations, meaning that now that they can see that something as impossible as the Easter Bunny can prove himself real, maybe it's possible other things are real as well. It doesn't mean that it will completely diminish their ideology of whether or not religion and gods are real. If anything, it will actually increase whether or not they think this type of thing will be real. Secondly, my opponents mention things such as Christmas and gingerbread houses, but Christians haven't retaliated against people because of gingerbread houses. Just because the Easter Bunny proves himself real doesn't mean that there's going to be any retaliation against him for it. There
Point
would
of
be
information
more benefits than anything else if we're talking about that type of thing. Now, my opponents bring up that we should be disregarding all outside knowledge, and they say that our entire case is based off of this movie that we bring up, but we're not saying we should disregard all outside knowledge. All we're saying is we should disregard any type of Instagram or a source that is being used on the opposing team. This movie is just some knowledge that I'm guessing a lot of you guys know about. Have any of you seen the movie with Jack Frost, Santa Claus, Sandman, Tooth Fairy? All of them? It's a very, very popular movie. And in that movie, we can see that when children believe in these magical creatures, such as the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, and the Easter Bunny, they gain more power and they gain more control over this power that they can then in turn use to benefit our world in a multitude of ways, including making children happier, giving more food, more resources to children, as well as solving for world hunger. Our opponents do not attack a single time of the benefits that would come that if the Easter Bunny proves himself to be real, that parents would too also be able to believe that the Easter Bunny is real. This means not only children are affected by this proof, but the entire world as a whole would see the benefits. Our opponent mentions in their last speech that the Easter Bunny only gives chocolate, and they try to keep it to that point. But this is not true. There have been no specific limits on the abilities of the Easter Bunny because there isn't any specific proof in the status quo that the Easter Bunny is real or not. We cannot limit his abilities to anything at all, meaning we can't limit that he just gives chocolate. How many of you here have gotten something other than chocolate on Easter? I'm guessing it's a lot of you, meaning that we can't just limit the Easter Bunny's abilities and powers to just bringing children chocolate. And judges, for those reasons and more, we please urge a ballot proposition for today's motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gov Whip. And now call upon opposition whips to deliver a speech not to exceed 8 minutes. Here.
Okay, cool. Ethan Wilkes again, he, him, pronouns for all POIs. There is so much warranting the proposition just never did. They hang their hat on this argument that being more powerful and having more support means the Easter Bunny can do more things. What things, though? Why does the Easter Bunny need more recognition to provide more food? Why does the Easter Bunny need more recognition to stop climate change? Just because the Easter Bunny is magical does not mean the bunny can do anything. And even if they could, they still don't warrant why more recognition grants the bunny the greater ability to use this magic. None of this makes sense. I would really struggle to question your judging abilities if you're willing to vote for this garbage, right? We're kicking the Sungju framing argument. They fell for the time suck. We're going for our substantives independent of this framing. 3 questions then in the speech. First, what does the Easter Bunny actually care about, right? This is super simple. Yes, the bunny does care about making people happy, but still also cares about things personal to themselves. 2 reasons this is the case. 1, if things like the paparazzi and stalkers take a toll on the mental health of the bunny, it hinders the bunny's ability to help people, which means even if you buy them trying to outframe us, you should still care about protecting the Easter Bunny on a personal level. Why are so many people leaving? Jeez. Second, if you buy their examples of Jack Frost and other fictional characters, those characters also have emotions and care about themselves to some degree, right? Even if they're largely selfless, in order to buy that the Easter Bunny does not care about themselves and only cares about making people happy, they have to warrant that the Easter Bunny has no emotions and any emotions to care about themselves, right? They definitely haven't done that, which proves you have to weigh the personal life of the bunny to a significant degree in this debate. This is then where we get access to a lot of our offense in this debate, right? Second question. How does outing themselves as a real bunny impact the bunny's personal life, right? 2 big things we'll tell you on this clash, right? First, if people know the bunny is real, it subjects them to the paparazzi and stalkers, essentially causing all the harms of being a celebrity, but none of the benefits. They give us 2 responses. A, they say that the Easter Bunny is magical, so they can circumvent the issues of stalking and stuff, but this is like such a big stretch. They don't warrant why the Easter Bunny has the ability to do anything, not to mention, even if you're magical, people can still probably take a picture of you, right? Just because you're magical does not mean you can functionally shut off all cameras. It's really abusive to give them this characterization, and it's really uncharitable that the Easter Bunny can do literally anything. I really just don't buy this, right? B, they also say that the Easter Bunny isn't a celebrity like Ryan Gosling, so it wouldn't fall into the harms, but this literally just isn't the argument, right? It doesn't matter if the Easter Bunny isn't viewed like Ryan Gosling. People will be more inclined to harm the bunny, peek into their personal life, things like this, because the Easter Bunny is now known to be real. Whenever the Easter Bunny comes and visits your house, maybe you'll, no thank you, maybe you'll bring a shotgun. I don't know what crazy people will do. They were just largely non-responsive to this argument. I'll weigh it later. But second, on the religion argument, religious institutions will be upset with the bunny because children will be confused on why the bunny has proven themselves to be real, but not God. It doesn't matter if you buy this argument on truth. Their responses here just largely missed the mark. We didn't really get any argument interaction until the proposition whip. Then the only response we got out of the whip was that they will give, it'll inspire more people to believe in their religion because they know magical things can become true. But this is really, really non-responsive to our argument. It doesn't matter if other people are more religious in certain instances. As long as more people are less religious in some instances, it will cause the church to lose power, which will cause the church to lash out. This can look like things like doing things to ruin the personal life of the bunny, or even go as far as having the bunny assassinated. Both of these arguments on a personal level outweigh, because the risk of the Easter Bunny dying, even if it's a relatively low probability, circumvents all of their offense because a dead Easter Bunny cannot access their benefits of world hunger and climate change.
Point.
Evaluate this first in this round before you can engage with their arguments. No, thank you. This means that conclusively, the Easter Bunny has a far worse personal life in a proposition world. Remember, they have not given a single warrant as to why on a personal level, the Easter Bunny has an incentive to out themselves as real. This is just not warranted in this round. We're very, very far ahead because we are giving direct warrants as to why the Easter Bunny's life gets practically worse in their world. I'll take a point now.
So can you give me an example of a celebrity stopping their job because of the paparazzi or any kind of like goals that they want to accomplish?
It happens literally all the time because people have mental health issues. Like it's like very actually common. That was a bad POI. I'll let you take another one. Oh, really? Okay. Third question.
Audio isn't working. Sorry about that.
Okay.
What were you saying at the end?
Yeah, I said that like people have like celebrities have mental health issues all the time, but also we think the risk of the Easter Bunny is worse than it would be for a celebrity because the Easter Bunny literally goes into people's houses and gives them things.
Never give us a name of a celebrity.
Yeah, the question is who, not like
We asked who, you didn't even answer the point.
I mean, like there are people who take hiatus from social media all the time. Like if you want to name a person, like literally, like Taylor Swift has taken hiatuses. Like most celebrities have taken time off of social media or things of that nature. Okay. Third question. Does outing themselves as real result in the benefits they characterize, like world hunger and climate change? I think this argument is just a joke, right? Two big reasons you really, really can't buy it, right? One, they don't explain why the Easter Bunny has to out themselves to solve the issues of world hunger or climate change, right? The only thing even close they give us is that, oh, the Easter Bunny will get more power when more people believe it, right? A ton of issues here, right? A, they don't explain why this is the case. Like, why does more people believing in the Easter Bunny mean that they get more power? B, this does not mean they get more power to provide food particularly. C, if they're so magical that they have infinite power, I don't understand why the bunny needs more support to get access to what should be already infinite power. But C, even if the bunny also has the power to give things like jelly beans and eggs, does not mean the bunny has the ability to end world hunger everywhere. We think this would have already happened, right? So second, if the Easter Bunny had the power to stop world hunger because they're presumably infinitely magical, the bunny would have already done so, right? If you buy into this framing that the Easter Bunny has infinite power and can do basically anything, you would also have to buy that they have this power in the status quo because there can't be like, it's either infinite or infinite, right? It can't be some bright line where our world is not infinite, but their world is infinite, right? It is definitely true that in the status quo, the Easter Bunny would have infinite power if it would also be true in their world that the Easter Bunny would have infinite power, which means all of their impacts become symmetrical. If the Easter Bunny could stop world hunger, the Easter Bunny would be doing it in the status quo without having to be recognized as real. This is never warranted. Thus, here is your RFD. The offense of the proposition is never warranted to be unique to a world where the Easter Bunny outs himself as real. Meanwhile, all of the harms that are caused to the personal life of the bunny are very likely to be true and have a higher probability than any of the offense from the proposition. Very proud to oppose 3-0 decision for Orion.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Op whip, op reply.
Okay. Can everybody see me and hear me? All right, thanks. Thank you, Arik. I appreciate you.
You're welcome,
Okay.
Jason.
I'll get started in 3, 2, 1. Having a movie on your side isn't an excuse to not think or make incoherent, lazy argumentation. We haven't gotten a single good response coming from proposition. Their interpretations of the powers of the Easter Bunny have literally changed speech by speech and have basically just turned into, yeah, he can literally do anything. Having magic and an infinite power on your side isn't an excuse to not debate. Panel, if you literally look at all of the reasoning they've given, every single one of the responses has just been, he's magical, therefore we win. Incredibly clear opposition ballot. I'm going to give you two things in this speech. Firstly, I'm going to prove to you why you can't vote on any of proposition's offense. And then secondly, I'm going to prove to you why both of our substitute points are prerequisites to them accessing any of their impacts. Firstly, though, why does the vast majority of their offense just not stand whatsoever? Their entire case in this whole debate has hinged on this one piece of entirely fictional reasoning from this one movie. Just because a movie says something doesn't mean it's necessarily right. I'm not sure of anything specific, but there's definitely been like another movie where the Easter Bunny is like a horror movie and he's like the villain, right? Where he hates society. They basically say, if you look at an ideology, it's more powerful if more people believe in it. An ideology is not the same thing as a person. If Ethan believes in me in this debate, I'm not going to suddenly get the ability to fly or make infinite food. With that said, though, I'm going to say that even if you buy all of the reasoning, our second sub largely takes this out. Because we told you if religious backlash makes it that more parents make their children more isolated and secluded from things outside of the religious community, less people believe in the Easter Bunny in the first place. Their only response to this is, yeah, religion hasn't gone to war over things like gingerbread houses. That doesn't mean A, that doesn't mean they're offended, and B, this also doesn't mean that they're not going to go to war over their Easter Bunny, because we're on an entirely different scale here. This is literally a non-religious representation of a religious holiday, literally proving himself to be real. At that point, then, we would say it's very, very logical for Christians to go to war because their children are doubting their belief in the faith. They're thinking, hey, if the Easter Bunny hasn't revealed himself, if the Easter Bunny has revealed himself, why hasn't Jesus revealed himself if he's real? That leads more parents to actually take their kids away from the Easter Bunny. That leads to more belief in the Easter Bunny as a whole. Even if you buy all of this reasoning about belief in the Easter Bunny, we think that gets worse on our other side of the house. With that said, then, on to their second argument about world hunger. Again, entirely non-unique because he would have done this in the first place if he had the power to do so. Here's something incredibly important here, right? Even if their whole case is true and that Easter Bunny can solve world hunger, then his protection is the most important impact in this debate. The Easter Bunny not being at risk of death is a prerequisite to any of the impacts that they can access on our side of the house. With that said, then, why are both of our arguments prerequisites to what they did? Firstly, we told you about the privacy and the self-interest of the Easter Bunny. They essentially say, hey, the first priority of the Easter Bunny is to give things out to children because he wants to make them happy. The first priority of the Easter Bunny is to not die so we can continue giving all of those gifts out to children. Very, very simple here. If the Easter Bunny is dead because this puts him at risk of being shot by a stalker or being taken photos of by a paparazzi, which hinders his mental health and therefore his job, none of their impacts get access on their side of the house. You actually make the Easter Bunny less effective than if he stayed private and then did all of these magical things that they say he has the power to do. At that point, then, when you put the Easter Bunny at risk of active death, we would say on our side of the house, you take away that risk, you allow him to function privately. So even if he has all of this infinite power to make food, then it's much better accomplished when he's private and he's not at total risk. Their only response to this point is, hey, he has magical power, so he's not going to get shot. Your literal interpretation of the Easter Bunny is that he has the ability to make gifts. You never said anything about being able to avoid violence. You never said anything about being able to avoid the paparazzi. Literally anyone can take a picture of the Easter Bunny. If he's going to everybody's doors, literally any crazy person can just shoot him in the face. Secondly, though, on religion, again, their only response is that they haven't gone to war over things like gingerbread houses. So why are they going to war over this? When the children of these religions literally stop believing in the religions themselves, that's a pretty good justification for the parents to seclude them and make it so that less people believe in the Easter Bunny in the first place. In the end, very clear op ballot.
Awesome. Thank you. Op reply, prop reply.
Alrighty. Am I visible and audible? All right. Then I am going to be starting time now. Judging off that last reply speech, thank you so much for the 3-0 ballot. It was a great debate, guys. Let's go in the key points that this debate comes down to: magic, religion, and then finally the personal level. Let's start with magic, principle and pragmatic. On the principle, the definition of the Easter Bunny is a bunny that is magical and gives gifts. We showed this in our first speech. This went completely dropped throughout the entire debate. I have no reason how they didn't address this a single time. We give a definition of what the Easter Bunny is. We show how it is magical and it gives gift. It doesn't get more clear than that. Think about how many ideas people have, and when more people back those ideas, it makes those ideas stronger. Right now, the Easter Bunny is just an idea for many people, but whenever more people back that idea, it's going to become basically more rational and more people are going to believe in it, and thus it gets stronger. But we're going to address that a little bit later. Also, about us making assertions, you literally asserted that Santa wasn't real and Sungju was the Easter Bunny without any backing. So don't consider that in your ballot. On the pragmatic, Giving gifts can mean anything. And ultimately, my opponents contradict themselves because in one of their speeches, they agree that the bunny has magical powers and it doesn't need to reveal itself to use them. But this is a solvency deficit because why hasn't world hunger been solved already if the magical bunny does have these powers? And that clearly goes into our warranting that shows how the bunny doesn't have enough power right now. And only through getting more power can it actually solve these issues. But remember, if we want the Easter Bunny to solve world hunger, it needs more power or it would have already been solved. Ultimately, on their point about celebrity status, quite simply, here's what we'd say. Take them at their highest grounds. The Easter Bunny has all of these celebrity problems. Sure, let's say that. But how many celebrities stop their career and their goals for this? We still see them waking up and going for their goals, even with these paparazzi and all these issues. We asked them a point of information 2 times about a single example they can point to, and they couldn't point to it at all. On Magic at their highest ground, their only impact is paparazzi, while our impact is solving world hunger. So which side actually has an impact here? Paparazzi or solving world hunger? It's your decision, but it's pretty clear. On religion, on the principle, they have some ground, I guess, in saying that people might not believe in religion and backlash is possible. Get the joke, judges? I said that they have ground. They obviously don't. On the pragmatic, they bring up gingerbread houses, but what revolts have actually happened that could outweigh solving world hunger? We outweigh on impact, but also they give 0 example at all. Many families believe in the bunny right now, and how many of them have been harmed? This point has no example. Name me a single person who has tried to assassinate Santa Claus. They have never shown this at all. It makes 0 sense. So drop this entire religion point. At their highest ground, we outweigh it completely because they just never show how many people are actually going to revolt. And ultimately, if this is a voting issue, I'm going to definitely file a protest. So now on the personal level, they gave no name of celebrities whatsoever. Celebrities basically, what we can see is that even when they're being targeted by paparazzi, they still continue their day after day lives. The Easter Bunny is not going to be killed just because it has celebrity status. We asked for an example and they gave us 0 example. But on the most important point that I'm dedicating the last 40 seconds to on the bunny giving power, it doesn't have infinite power right now, but it has the potential for infinite power. It just needs to be able to access it. It's scalable. The more that we believe, the more powerful the bunny will be. That's why he can't solve everything right now. We showed in every single speech that when people believe in something, a larger number, that more people is backing it, and that's going to strengthen the actual entity. What we have to realize at the end of the day, every speech we give you the warranting on how the bunny is actually giving more power and how it's actually going to solve these problems. We show that in every speech. Our opponents agree that it has magical powers, but if that's the case, then it doesn't have the power right now to solve world hunger. It's only through our world. So through all these reasons, it's a clear prop ballot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for a great debate. Cross the floor, virtually shake hands, whatever is normally the standard. Yes, thank you, Andrew. I shake back. Excellent debate from, this is very fun to listen to. Alex and Akrush, we can confer, we can go to the random room if needed, breakout room. And we'll be back soon, hopefully. And we'll come with a decision.
Arik, we're
Great
not
job.
disclosing that, right?
Are we?
Ham said no.
Ham said no? Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Don't listen to Ham.
Wait, what?
I thought we confer. What?
Dude, I don't know. Look at what Ham said. He said
This
no
is
disclose.
conferral judging.
Ham disclose,
Okay.
no disclose.
Wait, no, we should definitely be disclosing.
We should
This is crazy.
disclose. Wait, get
Should
someone.
there should definitely be
Henning.
RFDs on this. I don't know.
Yeah, no, because this is the final round. I feel like our esteemed competitors are deserving of some feedback,
Ham disclose, no okay. Ham's been overruled, I guess.
All right, blessed. Let's go to the random room if needed. We can confer there and discuss whatever. Okay.
as in David, M as in Mary.
Okay, so we've reached a decision, and it was unanimous, but before, we say what that is, Alex is going to deliver first, his oral adjudication.
Wait. You should announce the
I should announce it first, right? Okay.
Yeah, why?
So, all right, cool. So, drum roll, please, wherever you are. This this was a 3-0 for side opposition. Congratulations to Team Orion. It's okay, Andrew. But all right, Alex, you can deliver your OA. It's okay.
Okay, this is a good debate. I honestly wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. I think there are a couple of things I want to start talking about before the decision proper is really short. So I'm actually going to start with a couple of missed opportunities on both sides that I thought would have been pretty clever. On proposition, there were three things. I think the PM narrative is really, really smart in terms of its arguments. I do think you're missing a lot of stuff on the mechanisms though. And there were three things you could have done that make this a little bit clearer from first. Number one is I need a good characterization of what magic is. You get a lot of pushback from opposition on this. I think you needed to do three things. One, you need a reason why magic is scalar as opposed to binary. That is, it exists on some kind of spectrum where it could be increased or decreased in magnitude. It's not that you either have magic or you don't have magic. Reply starts this, but obviously it's way too late, and it's also still not done enough there. The second thing you probably want is where magic derives from in your world. Presumably it does not derive from like God or some kind of magical MacGuffin. At that point, I think it's pretty easy to intuit that there's some level of belief involved where people need to buy into magic for it to have any kind of like implication. The third thing is how magic is able to circumvent and operate beyond the parameters of reality. So obviously like food can't be created in the status quo, but I just need some like, I mean, you can just kind of say the word it's magic here even as a mechanism, but like something to explain why reality has parameters and that is overcome by magical traits. Honestly, there's clever ways to do this. Like magic has to do with how much you believe it's true. Like, yes, honestly, the Jack Frost thing, like Op just kind of says it's a movie and it's stupid, but I like fully bought this mechanism. Like the Tinkerbell effect, like this is just a pretty smart mechanism, right? So even saying like panel, this mechanism is only as good as your own belief and hope and like your childhood faith in it or whatever. Like I would have bought something like that as well. But I do buy the idea that ideologies are only as powerful as the individuals who perpetuate them and propagate them and believe them in the status quo. I don't think Op, you're very charitable on this. Down the bench, you're kind of just like, they said a movie in their first speech, so I'm just going to answer that. And it's like, that's not really what the argument was. You can also just characterize what the bunny is like. I think there was some missing stuff done here. Like there's fun traits you could have brainstormed and like easily gotten for your side absent magic. Like it's a rabbit, right? Like it probably has insane like leaping ability so it can get away from like paparazzi really fast. Like I feel like that would have been clever. Or it has like super speed or something to run away. Like it can transport and like vanish and hide or whatever. Like none of that's dependent on magic. It's just like it's a jacked steroid bunny or whatever. Like I feel like that would have been kind of clever as well. The second thing you could have said is that religion maybe probably changes. I think both sides could have explored this, but if some magical being suddenly appeared and started doing things that are impossible, like what are the implications there? Maybe a new religion forms around that becomes like a majoritarian religion. And then you make arguments why that religion is good for millions who live by it. Because when you pray, you're praying to like a tangible thing that can reciprocate your prayer or whatever. I think prop width gets close with like a line or two in there, I think you say, but you should really make that probably explicit. The last thing I'll say on proposition is that if magical symbols do exist, there's a cool argument like maybe the bunny like exposing himself is the catalyst for like hundreds of others of magical creatures to reveal themselves. I think DPM gets pretty close to this. The mechanism could be like twofold here. Like in a world where magical Easter bunnies exist, it's not far-fetched to see like other creatures exist because that magic must have come from somewhere. But two, use like Op's narrative, which is that magical creatures would never, ever want to reveal themselves, which proves that the reason none has is because they're all scared, they're all in hiding. Like this is the crucial catalyst to change that. I don't know. On opposition, just one thing, like straight up my case in L1 would have been like, and you get close to this, but you can really, really impact it, which is like, dude, governments, militaries, medicinal corporations in the world will literally spend all of its resources to like catch, enslave, and weaponize this bunny. Like this is super intuitive coming out of PM, especially because PM spends 8 minutes up and down saying this bunny can solve all of the world's problems. So like your really easy flip is like, cool, China's gonna want it, the Russian military is gonna want it, pharma is gonna want it. Like this is terrible because medical companies are gonna do a bunch of dangerous tests, inject chemicals, like dissect it or whatever. Like world militaries are going to want to weaponize it. It kind of sounds like the ultimate assassin from what like proposition is saying, right? Governments are going to want it to do its bidding globally for free without needing to fund anything. Like there's a lot of principal arguments, a lot of practical harms you can talk about that. Like straight up war happens over this thing, probably kind of legitimate. On the decision proper, I mean, there's two parts, but it's really quick. I on the incentives level, I buy proposition actually to a large extent that the big majority / first obligation we should attempt to fulfill as a bunny is helping others. But op is also somewhat right here on the pushback that organisms inherently seek survival, especially animals, because like the bunny has emotions and a life. What was more compelling though, that was not as compelling, but what was more compelling is the weighing done out of op whip, which is that the bunny's endangerment and any risk of harm and death to that bunny actually just kills your ability to do good. So that should be a prerequisite. That made sense. At that point, like I don't know why magic is improved by belief. Like basically everything Op said as to your characterizations was true. At that point, I don't know what your benefits are. If it's just like more food, I don't know where the food comes from. I don't know how they get food, whatever. Like that was true. But yeah, that's the decision proper. But I thought I would put in some ideas as to how cases could have been improved for an actual RFD. Yeah, I have to go, but if you guys have questions, like obviously feel free to reach out. This was a really fun debate though. I had a really good time. There were a lot of funny things that happened. Yeah, but yeah, someone else can go.
Thank you, Alex.
Sure. I mean, Alex pretty much encapsulated like the vast majority of it. So here, I basically have like a document written up with like everything. Cool. So I'll just go over it a little bit. So in terms of general things, I think like the whole like evidence thing is like a wash, right? And I'll just be like going over like the document briefly. Right, like proposition had like the Jack Frost and like the movies as their examples to back the idea that like the Easter Bunny is magical. Opposition had Sungju's Instagram as their example, proving how Sungju is the Easter Bunny. This was ultimately a time suck, like Ethan kicked it in op with like cool. Proposition needed to prove, in my opinion, three things. First, why the Easter Bunny revealing themselves publicly will lead to them like increasing happiness and spreading the magic globally, and then also like solving world hunger, climate change, like all of like the global crises they talk about. And I think that there's like a lot of like proper like opposition engagement. So opposition says it's unclear how the Easter Bunny can magically like generate money and material things other than chocolate and candy. It's probably true that there was like some necessity for showing like precedent for how they would generate like things other than chocolates and candy. And then also like the idea that like Easter Bunny is like less happy because they're more likely to be in danger. I think that in terms of like what we needed was more explicit weighing on proving like the importance of like magic and how exactly the Easter Bunny has that, like going into like revealing that he's real compared to like reality, which I think like opposition was probably a little bit more grounded in. And also opposition, I think, properly responds by questioning how it is necessarily the case that like the Easter Bunny would get more power. And I also just like wonder like why the Easter Bunny needs popular belief from like mere mortals when he has infinite power to do things like provide chocolate and candy. So honestly, I probably would have just gone for like the strategy that Alex had talked about earlier. So yeah, the three things were first, proving like why exactly you like the Easter Bunny revealing themselves will lead to solving world hunger and like these world problems as well as increasing happiness. Second, proving what that like declining belief that the Easter Bunny is real would lead to him getting more power once he reveals that he is real. And I'm probably willing to like side with proposition on this belief. I'm pretty compelled by that. And then third, like proving the magic's like scalar, not binary, just like Alex said. Opposition gave two arguments. First, on paparazzi and fame. Opposition here says that like the Easter Bunny is at threat. There's like a potential to be killed. And then there's also just like more realistic things like declining mental health. And I think the opposition third especially adequately weighs like the likelihood or propensity of Easter Bunny being unsafe, which will make them unable or like render them unable to do things like provide gifts to children and just like help the world. Second thing is like radicalizing religion. I buy the idea that like children are like more likely to question why Jesus or God hasn't revealed himself if the Easter Bunny did. And I also buy this argument even more based on proposition's own claim that the Easter Bunny will get a lot of power once he reveals himself to the public. And so ultimately what I adjudicated on was three things. First, the individualistic versus the altruistic motives of the Easter Bunny. Second, on whether or not the Easter Bunny revealing himself would lead to A, solving global crises, and B, spreading happiness. And then thirdly, on whether or not the Easter Bunny is hindered from fulfilling like their responsibility or role once they reveal themselves. And it was pretty close in my ballot, at least. And I was pretty swayed by what proposition says. And I also think that there was like a lot of room for opposition to be more charitable. But I think that in that respect, yeah, I did ultimately end up opposing, but I very much enjoyed the humor from both sides. I think like the killer line came from like Andrew with like the headphones, you know. I'm sorry, Jake, but you just could not top that. That was excellent. But good stuff from both sides. Akrish has left, so and I'll also let you know. Obviously, he like opposed since it's unanimous. But great debate, everyone. If there are any questions, feel free to like reach out. But y'all crushed it. Very much enjoyed listening to this.
Bye.
Ulrich,
Sir, what's up?
from
How can I help
streets
you?
of Los Angeles to the cities of Brazil and down to the core of humanity. Thank you so much. It was great.
It was fantastic listening to your bench. Like y'all are amazing. Great
Thank
job.
you. Yeah,
This
I'm
is
just
very,
assuming
very
that you
well.
guys like entered in the wrong
executed.
ballot, so like I'll
You know, maybe I did. Maybe I did. Maybe the Easter Bunny like manipulated me. Who knows?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It gifted you manipulation.
Of course.
All right. Hey, you have a great one.
Hey, you too. You too. All right. Bye, everyone.